Welcome to Dream Accelerator Live. This is Q&A session, and today we're doing it from my kitchen. And we're cooking, we're doing apple and berry jam and a soup. And meanwhile, we're gonna discuss personal, spiritual, and other meaningful topics. And one interesting topic this week has been on my mind is active listening. So, what does it mean to listen actively, and what's the point of it? Why should I do it? What do I gain of it? What's in it for me? And once I realize what's in it for me, how can I do it better? So, yeah, let's start from scratch. What is it? What does it mean actively listen? Well, it means listen proactively. Actively, that means there's some kind of effort in there effort is involved. So it's not just being blank and just clear your mind and all this stuff. It can be part of it, but it's not the whole story. That means active participation in conversation. Because that's what listening is about. To make sure that conversation is successful. And it is not possible to listen actively unless you have an intention and direction of the conversation. And this is, I think, where most people go wrong, because they think they just will go with the flow and they will just clear their mind, they will just listen and all these things and be completely open. But what I discovered for myself is that if I'm completely open, then I'm also completely open to other person guiding conversation wherever they end up. And quite often, other person is not in a leadership position. So wherever they guide conversation is not in benefit for them, and it's not in benefit for me. So if I'm completely open, there's no structure, there's no frame, there's no boundary of where it's going. So that makes it really important for me to set the frame. And the most simple, most easiest and most universal frames is, well, I'm guiding you towards more love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. So my role in this conversation is to embody love, happiness, peace, and fulfillment. So if I don't do anything else, but that's the only direction I'm going towards more love, more flow, more happiness. And without that, conversation can be lost. But with that, guess what? I have a direction. I become a leader. So, that's why I believe that having intention for conversation is really important. And the thing is that we always have intention in any conversation. The thing is that since we always have that intention, are we consciously aware what that intention is? And sometimes that intention is people please. Sometimes the intention is to feel good, boost ego, whatever the intention is. Most of the times we're not consciously aware what that intention is. Because if there was no benefit, no something good out of the conversation, we wouldn't do it. So there's desire behind it. So each interaction, each conversation always gives us something. And we're doing everything because there's this either avoiding pain or achieving pleasure. So those things, any movement, any action comes out of these two motivations. And since we're having conversation, both things are present to a degree. The question is, how consciously aware am I, and do I want more of that? I think that's the best question to ask. Do I want more of that, what I experience? And once I realize, if I do want more of that, then amazing. Then continue that. So there's no conflict if my subconscious mind is guiding me towards what I want more of. Problems start when actually my subconscious mind guides me towards something I don't want more of. In those cases, I must step in my leadership position and assure that I actually move towards direction that I want more of. And this is where I come back to the thing that I mentioned in the beginning, which is what happens if I don't have that attention set consciously. Yeah, it can, on a flip side, it can also lead towards being control freak and trying to control everything. That's why having a frame size and structure is really important. So my frame, love, happiness, peace, fulfillment, is very wide frame. So lots of things fall in that. So I'm not really trying to control specific love. Hopefully. So yeah. But if the frame gets too narrow, I can miss out on lots of things that could become discord in conversation. So yeah. So active listening. So what does it mean? It means that I'm actively setting my attention to specific parts of conversation to get what I want. The thing about the brain is that the brain always deletes, discards, and distorts. So whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm observing, even watching here, there's so much information coming up here, and you always will see the thing that is most important for you. And you have peripheral vision and all these things. And how does brain decide what to delete, what to discard, and what to distort? Well, it decides based on what's important at any given moment. And the question is, who decides? Well, subconscious mind decides. And partly we can influence the subconscious mind. For example, when it comes to vision, vision is a very easy example. When it comes to vision, where I put my focus and attention to, there's usually the sharpest focus. And that's where the most clarity was, that's where the most information comes from. So where do I choose to focus my attention on? But then I also have this peripheral vision. And again, where do I point my head? Where do I put my eyes? That also determines what's in my peripheral vision. So I can consciously control these things. But then again comes the second layer, distortion. So how much attention I put in my peripheral vision also consciously determines how much of things in my peripheral vision I notice. So again, decision. And then discard. Well, yeah, that's the same thing then. So how much attention I put in my peripheral vision is on that depends how much information I receive or don't receive. So how much information is discarded and distorted. And the same principles apply to anything. Any conversation, any word someone says, I can either hear that word, make it important, remember it, or just let it fly by and not really understand. Not even hear the word. Sometimes we don't even hear things people say. And that's where active listening is important. It's when I actively say what will be important for me when I listen and what am I listening for. And sometimes people say, though, just open listening, listen to everything. But the problem with that is that you already have your beliefs and frames set by your subconscious mind, and if you try to listen for everything, then you're actually not listening for anything, and you also don't know what you don't know, so you don't know the frame your brain is already set by default. That's why I'm encouraging for you to set a conscious frame, always. And once you set a conscious frame, what you're listening for, then you're in more control and more awareness what you hear. Let's say it's a conversation with a friend. Well, if you don't set intention, that your intention is to just hear out and connect with a friend, your inner coach, for example, I'm a coach, so my first instinct is to try to help people. And sometimes my brain gets confused, what's the best way how to help people? So I might start giving out unsolicited advices for people, for my friends, in conversation. But because I didn't set a frame, what's the best way how to help people? And I didn't set out I didn't acknowledge that I actually want to help people. And maybe people don't need my help. And then my frame is not really working for me. But my subconscious mind is trying to find ways how to help these people. So yeah, so it's really important. And depending on what's my intention, for my subconscious mind and my conscious mind, my conversation can go in very different ways. It can be a fun conversation, sad conversation, flat conversation. And I get to choose which experience I want to have there. So yeah, that would be what's active listening. No, and yeah, the question comes like, how do I become better at active listening? Again, same thing. You have to decide what's your objective, what's your outcome, why are you there? You have to really know, why am I here in this conversation in the first place? What's my purpose here? And once you realize why you're there, you can adjust what are you listening for. And you can tell yourself, okay, this is why I'm here, and then you can set a frame for what are you actively listening for. So it's an art and a skill to choose what is best for you and that other person. And I suggest that you always set a win-win or no deal frames. And one of those, which tend to bring me win-win always, is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Acknowledging that we're one. Acknowledging that we both are and are striving to get more love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment in our lives. So that would be the short answer to topic of active listening. So going a bit deeper, so why would I want to practice active listening in the first place? Well, it builds better connection. And I don't know if you have noticed, but I've noticed that most people seek some kind of connection. They want to be either heard or understood or seen in some shape and form, and they seek all kinds of experiences because of that. And once they realize that's their basic desire behind it, then they can tailor to that and get that faster. So my belief is that I can fulfill this desire within me. Yeah, that's the point. So I don't need anyone else to see, hear, or acknowledge me, because I can do that all within myself. That's why I'm here, to listen to myself. And again, even internally, what am I listening for? Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. I'm listening for that. And yeah, so basically, answer is why active listening as a skill. What do I gain out of it? I gain better connection, because as I set out my intention to let other person to be heard, seen, and understood, that person needs get met in a conversation. That person feels like they're getting out of something in this interaction. And connection improves. And as connection improves, I feel better, they feel better, it's a win-win solution. And when it becomes a bit more practical, this skill is, I would say, priceless in sales, priceless in any kind of influence, any kind of leadership. Because any kind of leadership means influencing person's behavior towards desired vision. Because leader is someone who has a vision and wants that vision fulfilled. Usually there's other people involved. So basically leader is the one who guides the group towards common vision. That means they have to coordinate their actions, coordinate efforts, and and how do you do that? Well, you do that by communication. So communication becomes really important. How do I communicate what I want, what's my vision? Well, you communicate it by building connection. Because I can communicate to you all day, every day, what's happening within me, but if you don't care what I'm saying, you're not really listening. You're not hearing anything. So for me as a leader, before I communicate anything, I must ensure that you're actually listening. that you care about what I'm saying. And there's a saying that people don't care what you know before you know how much you care. Therefore, people generally need to know how much you care before you can share any kind of information with them. And how do you establish that? Well, by actually caring for them, by caring what they say. And that means active listening. So active listening is if you want to influence your children to go earlier to bed, if you want to sell something, even if it's an idea for a date or whatever idea you want to sell, whether it's a product, service, or just an idea of your parents moving out or whatever, or your parents giving you pocket money, or your children having a healthier diet, like whatever the idea you wanna other person act on, you need connection, influence, and them understanding that they also want to do that. And care is important for them. And therefore, active listening is important. Because they need to know that you're acting in their interests as well. So, so that's why today I chose to speak about active listening. Because it's a foundation. It's a foundation of you getting what you want in a win-win scenario where other person feels like, I want that too. And I trust by watching this video, you gain more clarity about how you can get what you want and how active listening can help you. Have it magical.